Welcome to We Question and Learn. This is Tom Pies. We're celebrating our 15th year of this broadcast. And we have a special guest, Tom Saunders from the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tom is the president and CEO of the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. And I think we ought to just do a little primer here, if it's okay with you, Tom.
Certainly.
The Conservancy is an organization, and I'm going to let you finish the second half of that sentence.
Well,
what do you do?
We are a nonprofit, land trust. So we're a private organization, membership-based, and we're a nonprofit land trust that works to protect land, clean up our rivers and streams, preserve and share falling water, protect threatened and endangered species, and also work in our communities on urban street tree planting and gardens and greening our communities, all here in Western Pennsylvania.
You're right at the tip of, I don't want to say controversy, but people are really in the 21st century here paying great attention to the environment. And you're right there. This is what you do to a good deal. What you do is protect the environment.
Your point is good, and it's been an interesting time, and for us, not a bad experience, because we certainly do live in an era that has more fracture and more contention right now, and yet
Did you use that word fracture intentionally?
I did not. An organization like us just keeps doing what we do. We're very project-oriented. We buy lands, we protect them, we add them to state parks and forests. We keep just moving forward with these nice projects. Yeah. So in a way, I don't want to say we stay out of all that, but in a way we stay out of all that.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to bring that up as part of the discussion because that's a whole nother program with probably a whole batch of engineers and politicians that need to get involved with that. That's not what we're here for. We're sort of here to learn how the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy manages to preserve the environment, and that's a broad statement, but there's a logistic process you go through. First of all, you have to get the land.
Yes, so we bring different kinds of tools and programs to that. Our overall approach, our overall mission is to protect the most exceptional resources, the most exceptional places in Western Pennsylvania. And all of our work falls under that, whether it's natural resource protection or it's falling water as one of those very special places. But I'll use Erie as an example. We bring our land conservation program to this work here, where we buy people's lands based on appraised value, voluntary transactions for people who want to sell, and add those properties to state parks or state forests, or also our own reserves, and create recreational destinations here in Erie. Wow. Our watershed staff works on cleaning up the streams, the tributaries that flow up into Lake Erie, places like Walnut Creek or Lower Elk Creek. And our natural heritage staff works to protect threatened and endangered species all over this county.
You hit on some very popular places. Walnut Creek, for example. It's there because of some of the work you've done, or that's not.
There are a lot of different organizations who can take credit for the health of the streams, which
around
is
your
improving.
area there, though, do you manage property, so to speak?
On Walnut Creek, we have done a big stream stabilization project, which has been good for all the people who fish there and for the health of the stream. Wow. And then on Elk Creek, near there, we have actually bought a property that's popular for fishing, and we're doing the same thing there. We're working on the crumbling bank and working to stabilize it and to reforest it, build trails, has some educational signs, parking.
How did this all come about? How long have you been around? This is a huge project.
For ages. We started in the 1930s, so we're in our 80-something year, and we did work mostly around Pittsburgh those first few years. Mm-hmm. But then by the 1940s, we were working on projects like McConnell's Mill or Moraine State Park, where we bought the land that became those state parks. And we've carried that forward up to the present day. If you fast forward to the 1990s, we were working up in Erie County a lot by then and bought a giant state game land. It's Game Land 314, for anybody who knows those numbers.
Yeah.
It's 3,000 acres, and it's the far northwest corner of the state where Pennsylvania hits the lake and hits the state of Ohio boundary.
That's a beautiful piece of property.
It's a magnificent property.
And that'll be preserved now?
And that'll be preserved forever.
Forever.
Owned by the Game Commission. Mm. And then if you keep moving forward through time, the next big project we did in this area was Erie Bluffs State Park in the 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
And we bought that land for the state, and then not long later bought the land for the Ridge Environmental Center. Didn't do that whole project, but bought that land on which that sits as a part of it.
Before I mess up this process, you find the land or people come to you, you purchase it, and then you make a decision what to do with it?
You just described our whole process.
Okay,
That's exactly right.
I don't want to mess it up.
Okay. So we, in many ways, are proactive about this because we know what areas would be good additional properties to protect. There might be a state park or a state forest that has a hole in it that somebody else owns. And as I say, everything we do is voluntary. We haven't, land trusts haven't used condemnation for decades and decades or been involved in that. But if there is a landowner who owns a key piece that ties together two other properties or that completes the protection somewhere or adds a whole new area that's now protected for the public to visit and that is a magnificent place scenically or could have trails or is important ecologically, we proactively go after those and contact owners.
Yeah,
now,
so you're not just putting a sign up and saying we're interested in helping the community. You actually physically, socially go out and discuss this with
We do. Yeah. We work with local partners everywhere. We never do a project with involving the people who are the neighbors or the community groups or the local municipality. But we sometimes just respond to requests. We're a big enough organization and enough people know about us that, yes, we do just get calls from people saying, I have this magnificent property and I would like to see it protected. Would you be interested in buying it? And we don't necessarily say yes or no then. We put it through sort of a review process internally to see whether it makes sense as a priority. We have to fundraise for every property, so we certainly want to.
That's the nasty word about all this. You've got to come up with the cash to do this.
It means that you do have to prioritize properties that are important. Land conservation shouldn't be random.
So you're not getting state funding to help you do this, although
we do get some. So it used to be that the state typically had enough money to fund about half of the cost of the properties. Wow. That's now less typically. So
since 2008, it's been that way.
Right. Yeah. So we go to individuals or foundations or count on charitable giving for a higher percent of these land transactions now, and then sometimes the state can put in some money.
Where is your office? Where do you work out of, if I could ask?
The closest one is in Franklin. And that's a small office out of which we do the work in this region. And by that, of course, I mean all the way up to here and then over a little bit east. Our main office is back in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
We have a number of staff at Fallingwater, too. But particularly for our land protection work, we tend to work out of local offices because it's just best to be out in the field, know the people you're working with, know the communities. Who wants a big organization from Pittsburgh working on its own without those relationships?
Well, yeah, because Oil City is the seat for a lot of organizations that affect all this area, Northwest Pennsylvania, so Franklin's not that far away.
Yeah, so we have offices, and small offices with a few staff in Franklin and Ridgeway, and then around the state, the same sort of thing in Hollidaysburg, Indiana.
Oh, you're everywhere.
Ligonier, for that reason, because people can work hand in hand then with local groups and individuals and be sure we're working on projects that people care about.
Plus, if you're there, you're aware of opportunities maybe?
Yes, that's right. That's very true, too. Yeah. That way a lot of things bubble up as local priorities rather than just being ours.
Yeah. How long have you been at the Conservancy?
About 11 years.
Oh, my. It's been that long.
It seems like yesterday.
It seems like you just came up back about a decade ago to come talk. When you first joined, you came up and you kindly told us about the Conservancy.
It's fun, interesting work, and it's all the things I care about personally doing. So it's the kind of organization where you still learn every week and every day as you do new projects.
Well, you're a land use attorney, or you were a land?
I was for a few years. Yeah. Yes, so my background was a master's in urban and regional planning and a law degree, and the only law I ever did and understood was real estate and land use and conservation and such things.
That paid off for you, obviously.
Well, it's just what I loved, and so to the extent that I practiced law for a few years, that's what I did.
And you go all the way farther southeast to Washington, D.C. You worked for environmental causes or trusts down in that area.
I did. I practiced law for a couple of years, and then I went in-house, as people say, to I represented a local land trust there, and then I ran a statewide land trust for Maryland, the Maryland Environmental Trust, which is a wonderful place too.
Well, I want folks to know that you have a BA from Vanderbilt, a master's degree in public affairs and urban and regional planning from Princeton. So we find your skill set, well, admirable.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you for that.
But the work is, as I say, the work is challenging and interesting in this organization. So I learn every day in the transactions we do. Now,
Well,
you're in a great place here in Erie, and a lot of our work is here in
Yeah.
Erie.
Well, we wanted to let people know that the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy is certainly well staffed. I like to use that word because it's just not a fly-by-night, let's buy property and see how it goes organization. After 80 years, there's a lot of thought, forethought,
Yes.
communication,
That's right.
community building, and let's talk about that because I know you've come up to Erie a lot of times and you do a lot of that here.
Yes, Erie is one of our real areas of focus, and
Yeah.
sometimes it takes someone who's driven in through the snow from somewhere else to appreciate how wonderful a place is. But Erie County is a unique place.
It is.
Within Pennsylvania, of course, it sits differently because it's on a Great Lake. It has different habitat, different species because of that. It's a subtle terrain, I would say. As you drive on the major roads, the interstates, it may look flat or very slightly rolling. But as we all know, for any locals here, when you get on the back roads, there are just all kinds of beautiful places to explore.
It's a wonderful place to live.
It
I think
is.
Sometimes people just need to get in the car and drive south or east. Well, I commute out towards Allegheny National Forest on occasion to do some trips, and as you well know, because you're an expert at it, that's a beautiful piece of the world.
It is. It's magnificent.
And then you go right up to the other corner of Pennsylvania here on the Ohio border. So you see it all. You see it all.
So your point is good because just east of here in the Allegheny National Forest, there are 500,000 protected acres. And then you have the lake to the north and then some beautiful, smaller but beautiful protected places to the west as well and the northwest.
Now, the Allegheny National Forest is a state park, but you're saying
National
around.
park, yep.
Yeah, national
Yes,
park.
yes,
Forgive
yes.
me. Why?
Yes,
That was
National
a
Forest, actually.
bad mistake, but obviously it's a huge treasure. But are you saying around that area there's properties that you've discovered, or?
Well, in the Allegheny National Forest, we have done some of the land protection work there, where we buy properties and transfer it to the
That's what I
federal
mean.
government. Yes.
Oh, okay. So you're
we have not done a majority of that land, but we have done some significant pieces of that network.
That's
of,
as far
of
as you
federal
go,
ownership.
and you're doing some important work, and that's a beautiful area.
It is a beautiful.
Well, I
area.
heard a horrible story, and it was somewhere in the past that the wood mills had literally deforested that whole area, pretty much east of the Alleghenies.
That was true across Pennsylvania in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. A lot of our land, a lot of our forest was clear cut.
Clear cut,
Yes,
right.
and then as it came back, it was, quote, even aged, meaning all the trees came up sort of at the same time, and you had this forest that was all the same age.
Yeah.
And only very gradually are landowners sort of reverting to a more natural selection of different forest ages.
Yeah,
different
even
tree.
if you drive east from Lake Chautauqua, the trees, and you're an expert at this, are not that old.
That's right.
They may be 50 years old, some of them.
And that's often true across Pennsylvania because there have been these
Really?
series of harvests over time. Yes.
And they just take it to the ground and they did take it to the ground without any consideration.
More recently, you have a lot of good forest management and a lot of landowners who are consulting with foresters who know how to do this well and who may thin their forest and let some of the best grow up. They may do small clear cuts for early succession so that you have new forest growing up of a different age in different places, good for different habitat and species.
Well, as you drive south here towards Oil City, you do see some wood companies, as I call them. So there is a lot of wood harvesting done in this region.
Yes.
And do you get involved with those fellas at all? Or?
We do a little bit.
Yeah.
On most of our properties, we don't harvest. We just let the forest grow.
Okay.
But we have one not too far from Benezet, quite a ways east of here, where we do, the forest was not in good condition to begin with, and we do gradual management of the forest in different parts of that forest. And the revenue that comes from that goes right back into conservation.
This question is more from my lack of knowledge. Does the federal government help you, or they just purchase land from you? Does the state help you, or how do you get involved with these two huge entities?
It both helps. So more of our work is privately driven, and more of our funding comes from foundations and individuals.
Okay.
But we do have grants from the state for some of our work, and we do have some grants from the federal government, though not as much money,
Right.
for some of our science work, our natural heritage work, and also sometimes for land transactions. We usually have to write specific grant proposals, for example, for a specific property or an effort like forest health to improve stream buffers that in turn affect the Chesapeake Bay, that sort of thing.
That's huge.
Sometimes there's a programmatic way to bring money into land protection that way.
So how, you must have some experts. Do you go to consultants? Do you have people that work for you or both? How do you know what to do?
We have experts on staff is really the best answer to that. So for example, in our land protection group and our watershed group, we have some of, I would say, the best people around the country doing those transactions, doing those projects. Somebody who heads up each of those groups who, in both cases, has decades of experience.
And they work for you?
Yes.
Wow.
And they're, and I learn from them every day, too.
That's fascinating because you're working from a depth of knowledge.
So back to Erie, this has always been one of our real areas of focus. We have protected almost 7,000 acres just in Erie County. And our involvement in this county ranges from urban to rural in the sense that we're interested in towns, too, in communities. And in Erie's downtown, we've been seeking out grants to work with local partners here and add street trees in the city, which has been a part of the beautification work, essentially, in the downtown. So we have identified with local help 300 good locations for street trees. We've found the funding and done the work to plant 200 of them over the last few years. We plan to do 50 more this year. And
Are you talking about sites or trees? Or?
We're actually locating the spaces for them where there were trees that were diseased or dead along sidewalks. So when you walk along the downtown sidewalks, you see nice street lamps and street furniture, but also street trees between the sidewalk and the curb. And the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy has been doing a lot of that planting work on those street trees.
You know
in
Erie.
the city.
You're intensely involved in Erie.
We also have a garden here on East Street and 6th Street, and that's a place where we work with local volunteers and plant flowers every spring, just as a beautification project.
Yeah, that's marvelous. So you're truly involved in the Northwest community and even in the urban regions.
We are. Erie's a great community, and we enjoy participating both in the urban revitalization part of it through projects like that. There's a limit to what we're involved in, but as far as the green spaces and the street trees and sidewalks, they add a lot of beauty. They do. They make those blocks look different and look like good places to invest.
Do you you do a lot of preservation? There was an issue, I think, up in Niagara Falls where they actually passed a law and you couldn't cut down old trees in the city.
Oh, is that right?
And I think one of the things that happened is those trees were gone because they were harvested for beams for ships in the 1800s. I don't think you guys go to that depth of it, but you are preserving the beauty in the city now.
We're not, since we're a private nonprofit, we don't get involved in regulation. We're really not a regulatory entity.
We would
never. That's right. We would never say you can't do this.
You can't
we
do that.
more do projects.
But if somebody comes to you and they say, "I have an idea,"
Yes.
or if they were interested in helping you, would they get in touch with you, for example?
Yes. And if somebody wanted to be more involved, for example, in the street trees work in the downtown, they could just call anybody in our office and they'd be put right through to the urban forestry staff. We have planted 30,000 trees along the sidewalks in Pittsburgh.
Really?
And we're doing the same sort of thing in other communities, from Ligonier to Johnstown to Erie. And we could do that in other communities here in Northwest Pennsylvania also. We have to fundraise for each project, but we could do both the work on the fundraising and then actually do the plantings. Yes.
Yeah. How many people do you have working in total, round numbers, or does it vary by the number of projects you accomplish?
We have about 175
Really?
full-time equivalent staff, yes. Slightly larger
I was going to say
numbers.
40 or 50, over 170.
In part that's because of Falling Water, because Falling Water has a lot of guides and maintenance staff and a substantial number of people there. Yeah. We have about 30 scientists on staff, conservation biologists of different types, and then around a dozen in our land conservation programs, our watershed programs, and our urban forestry program we were just talking about. Yeah. So we are sort of lean in any one part of our organization, but when you add it all up, it's a number of people.
I wanted to frame for people how large you were, and you're effective because there is a good number of people that you work with or work for you.
And then we couldn't do what we do without the help of volunteers. So we have about 11,000 volunteers, if you can believe it, in a given year. I know it sounds crazy. I always wonder how can that
most
be.
efficient volunteer stories I've ever heard. 11,000 over the whole area, but
It feels like a giant Ponzi scheme
Yeah.
in the sense that in the gardens and green space and urban forestry work, we have a staff of about a dozen.
Yeah.
That we do 130 gardens around the region.
yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of flowers. And so for each garden, there's one volunteer steward who volunteers that whole garden. And then he or
Really?
she may organize 25 or 50 or 100 people who work in that garden around the year to plant and to keep the irrigation going and to weed and then to pull out the flowers in the fall. And yes, I keep waiting for this to fall apart any time, but so far,
Yeah.
this whole volunteer mechanism has continued
You're
to work
not a
beautifully.
nonprofit. You're a movement.
That's a nice description. We couldn't do what we do without a lot of support and help.
11,000 folks in one way or another get
Yes.
involved with the Conservancy.
Yep. So you have some wonderful resources up here.
Yeah,
And just to
tell
name
us.
a few, we have worked a lot on the French Creek watershed. The French Creek, of course, passes through Erie County and 3 other counties to the south. And that's a place where it's a beautiful creek, but it's also a creek with a lot of biodiversity value. 26 different mussel species, lots of different fish species. We have protected 5,000 acres along that stream. And it's one of Pennsylvania's real gems as far as a stream with biodiversity value.
I get excited when I hear you say this because urban sprawl is not exactly a positive word in our society, but what you're doing is balancing that. in a lot of
Yes,
ways.
that's a good description, and we actually think about a lot of us have planning backgrounds, and we think about those issues because you want more development in some places. You want the city of Erie to fill in and grow, and people to or neighborhoods to revitalize, but you might not want sprawling new development out over the very best ecological resources some distance out. And so we do look at those sorts of threats to properties and try to make intelligent decisions about which ones are the ones to focus our attention on for protection.
You do a lot of research then
We do.
in order
Yes.
to plan, say, your next year or two.
We do.
or
Yes,
5
thanks
years.
to those scientists and others and our land protection and watershed staffs. They do a lot of really good planning as to where to do our work. I have to mention another gem you
Sure,
have.
please.
You all have a glacial lake in this county called Lake Pleasant. And that's another place where we have protected about 2/3 of the shoreline. It's in the eastern part of the county, not too far from the New York border.
Right.
And it's one of the few natural glacial lakes in the state and just a very beautiful place.
The glacial lake is something that was left from
Exactly.
12,000 years ago.
Thousands of years ago, exactly.
And
And maybe what I should say generally is that if
Yeah.
people want to know these different places that we own where they could go explore, we have a website, and you can type in Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, or you can type Waterland Life, which is sort of our tagline. And
Good line,
either one of those gets you to our website. And when you go there, then you can pull up a map and, I'll be more specific. You can type on the homepage, you can click on the line that says Explore, and then go to Explore Our Properties. And then there's a map of all our properties and a list of ones you can visit. And if you do it on the phone, it'll pull up GPS for you, and you can easily find your way there just using an app and our website.
that's marvelous.
There are
So-
lots of good places to explore here in Erie, so we do want people to know about them. The 2 big ones are Roderick Reserve that the Game Land owns
Yeah.
and Erie Bluff State Park, but there's some nice smaller ones too.
And those are recent? Erie Bluffs
I
was
see.
recent. Yeah.
You're looking at a map that I
I
brought
love
along
this.
for the two of us to have as reference.
I
And-
wish we were on television right now and we're flashing this slide.
And the answer is yes, some are recent and some go back for decades. So every few years, we essentially add another nice property either to our holdings, and people are welcome to explore any of the ones we own, or else to state parks or state forests. And any of those you can find on our website. So for people who want to take their kids for a hike on a weekend or want to just go explore somewhere, our website and then clicking on Explore is a great place for that.
Tom Saunders, where did this map come from?
Something our staff
Your
generated
staff
internally,
okay. Can they find something
but
like
there,
this on
there
your
is one on the
website?
web. That's
Oh,
right.
excellent.
And in
Yeah.
that place I was describing, if you click Explore and then go either to View Maps of our work or
Yeah.
go to Explore Our Properties, you can either choose an individual property and pull up a map of it, or you can go to an overall interactive map. And that's really fun because you can turn on or off layers yourself and choose to see where the street trees are that we've put in or the stream banks that we've worked on. You can see canoe and kayak accesses that we've put in for people who want to get out on the streams. You can see properties to hike and then print out a PDF map of them. We have come into this century in the last few years by making all this really easily available for people who want to get out.
For folks that are concerned about the environment and for folks that get a little nervous about urban sprawl or overt development that may be affecting the environment, this is certainly a step in the right direction, what you're doing.
I'm glad to hear you say that. We are happy to work with any of the communities in the county for revitalization efforts in town, street trees, parks, things like that. We don't really do the concrete part. We do the green part, but that's a big part of having beautiful communities.
So even if someone was doing an urban shopping center, urban development thing, they could call you.
We could. We will really do street trees in all kinds of projects. More often we're working with community groups or downtown municipalities, that sort of thing. And then if there are people who have properties that they would like to protect, we also are happy to look together with the owners at options for those as well.
I encourage them to call you. I was down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and as soon as you get to the city line south, there are no telephone poles. There's green space between the road and the trees, and then the sidewalk, and then more green space, and then a farmer's stone fence, and then you get to look at the Walmart, which is a cool thing, because you just constantly feel at peace when you travel through those areas, and you still have the same development, economic development, yet you still have. Is that something you guys work with, or is that something down the road, or if a municipality wanted to work with you, or is that not your?
I would say we're a part of that planning process typically. So we do try not to get too spread thin away from our own mission. And if there were a downtown that we're working on a combination of things like sidewalks and undergrounding lines and storefront facade grants and all those different things that redevelopment agencies and planners work on, we would be happy to work on the street trees, the pocket parks, the green spaces, all that part of it.
In 80 years, that's what you've learned how to do. And
yes, and we're happy to be a part of all those other discussions so that we're an integral player, but we would stay focused in our work.
In the last minute here, if someone had a piece of land up in northwest Pennsylvania here, around the area, if someone wanted to just learn more about what you do, they just wanted to communicate with you about your process, what's the best way to find you?
I would say start with our website. Phone number's there. All the information's there. Email any of us, and the website has all of that. Waterland Life.
Waterlandlife.org.
Or Western Pennsylvania Conservancy gets you there, too.
It's a wonderful story you tell about Northwest Pennsylvania and the Erie region. Thank you for visiting with us today and letting us know all the good things you do here. Thank you again.
It's a special place, and I'm honored to have this opportunity with you.
Tom Saunders, the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy CEO, and we're honored to have him as a guest today. And thank you again.
Thank you.
On NPR News, it's all about the story.
People can surprise you anytime.
The people behind movies, books, and music.
Music is like a Rorschach test, and people hear what they want to hear.
I'm Arun Roth, the new host of All Things Considered from NPR News, now coming to you every weekend from NPR West in Southern California.
Sunday afternoon at 5 on WQLN Radio. The People's Pharmacy at 7 o'clock Saturday mornings on WQLN Radio features nationally recognized authorities on medicine, mental health, nutrition, fitness, and related issues, discussing everything from home remedies to the latest breakthrough drugs. Host Joe and Terry Graydon explore current and sometimes controversial medical issues of our time, Saturday mornings at 7, right here on WQLN Radio.
Waking up can be alarming. Start your day with familiar voices bringing you news and more from around the world. Morning Edition gets you up to speed on today's most important stories and the rest of the things that make your world interesting, so you can ease into the morning well-informed. Stay on top of the world with Morning Edition from NPR News.
Weekday mornings at 5 on WQLN Radio.
Welcome to We Question and Learn. This is Tom Pies. We're close to celebrating 14 and a half years on the air. Great people, great interviews, and WQLN is certainly a community asset. We're well over 50, a little bit over 50 years old, and we'd like to celebrate that with all our listeners by saying thank you for making this program possible. An underwriter today is Strategy Solutions, a business development firm that provides strategic planning, market research, and project management services to private corporations, faith, and community-based nonprofits and communities on the web at getstrategy.com. Now I'm going to be challenged because I have two wonderful gentlemen. We had a pre-interview conversation here. We're going to have a little bit of fun, and certainly we're going to be educated. Afzal Upal, Dr. Afzal Upal. Can
That's
you
correct.
make sure I say it right, please?
That's very good.
It's embarrassing not to be able to say someone's name. Now, I'm Tom Pies. If you can spell it, you can continue to listen to the program. But and Christopher Mansour.
That's correct.
Right. Welcome. Afzal Upal, Dr. Upal has served as senior data scientist for Canada's Department of National Defence, working closely with intelligence analysis in the Canadian Armed Forces to develop tools to support their work. That's probably not the only thing you've done, because the resume goes out for a page and a half. And I'm going to just ask you, what's your career like? What has your career been like? I mean, how did you start out?
I just got lucky. There's something about timing.
Really?
So, time your career to graduate with a PhD in 1999 when there was a tech boom. And
okay. You hit it right on.
Right at the time,
Yeah.
they were looking for anybody. I mean, if you just had your resume up on Monster and stuff, you were being hit with calls from recruiters pretty much every day offering you positions. So.
And you're the chairman of the Department of Computing and Information Science at Mercyhurst University.
That is correct.
That's wonderful. And you've been there how long now?
A year and a half.
Just a year and a half, brand new.
We started this department last year. I came in the fall of 2017. And
Wow.
yep.
Yeah, and that's indicative of the things that Mercyhurst has been doing, starting with the intelligence studies and now your program.
Absolutely. We are on a path of growth, and it's been exciting to be part of it.
And Christopher Mansour, Dr. Mansour, welcome again, Assistant Professor of Computing and Information Science.
That's correct. Thank you for having me.
And how long have you been here?
So I've been here. I started here at Mercyhurst this past fall. So
Okay,
I'm brand new as well.
Just in time for the snow.
Exactly.
Actually, the cold. You missed the snow from last year. Well, we're really thrilled to have you both here. And we're going to talk about something that's avant-garde in the world, actually, in our community, particularly because of Mercyhurst's investment in this. But cyber risk, right? Is that it in one phrase?
Cybersecurity and cyber risk management.
Okay. Yeah. And the reason this has become prevalent at Mercyhurst University is...
It is because cybercrime is exploding. So about 10 years ago, the biggest criminal activity in the world was related to drugs and gangs. And now it's shifted to cybersecurity.
We have no privacy, right? Am I right, in a way?
It's not the kind of notion of privacy that people had in the past.
Okay.
So it's definitely changed.
So the threat to people, but in your case, you work more with companies, universities?
We are happy to help both individuals and organizations. So,
okay. Yeah. And let's talk about this risk. What should people be aware of? What's happening? I'm sure some folks have been violated already.
Absolutely.
You lose your identity. I know a fellow's lost his identity for 2 years.
Definitely. There's lots of sad stories like that, where people lose their identity, and it happens every 3 seconds. Another person loses their identity thanks to a cyber hack.
Now, we were just talking about how 50 years ago there were only 100 60 million people in the country. There's 325 million. But your risk management is global in nature, right?
The world is flat.
There's no dotted lines anymore, right?
There's no boundaries. Internet doesn't have any boundaries. It's people all around the globe being able to reach into your cell phone, into your computer, inside your house, inside your workplace.
Do you have any good stories you can tell us? Have you worked on something? Has there been something of interest to you that you've worked on to help a company or a person? I'm going to throw this wide open. I mean, you folks see this every day. I think consumers are not aware of it, right? As much as they should be.
Absolutely.
So maybe if we put a little fear into them. No, we don't want to do that. But the concept, I mean, you probably have some interesting stories to tell.
Lots of stories, but again, we don't want to go into private details of any individual or any company. But the kind of stuff that you hear in the media, I think everybody's heard those stories. So there is a story of this woman from Tampa. She was out shopping one day with her son, and the police stopped them for what looked like a routine check stop.
Yes.
Her son didn't have his license, so she thought, okay, they're going to give him a ticket for driving without a license. But they came back and they said, we need to take you with us because we have a warrant for you because you've been writing bad checks. And she had no idea because somebody had stolen her identity and was writing checks in her name.
It took a police stop
for a
traffic incident to discover that her personal identity, her
Absolutely.
assets had been attacked.
Yeah. So the saying these days in cybersecurity is that, particularly for organizations, that there is only two types of organizations in the world: those who know that they've been attacked and those who don't know yet that they've been hacked.
Oh, that's too much to handle. So at the university, what are your obligations? You teach this? You manage a department?
Absolutely. So my job at the university is to manage a department where we have 2 undergraduate degrees, one Bachelor of Science in Data Science, a Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity, and a Master of Science in Data Science, a Master of Science in Cybersecurity, and a brand new, one of the only in the world, Erie Insurance Master in Cyber Risk Management.
Amazing. This just started recently?
The Masters in Cyber Risk Management started this fall,
and
the Master in Cybersecurity started this fall.
Hence your presence in Erie.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here. This is fascinating. Dr. Mansour, your duties at the university, what do you get involved with?
So at the university, I participate in developing the cybersecurity program and teaching the cybersecurity courses that are part of the cybersecurity program and the cyber risk management. Because as a cyber risk management student, you have to study the risk management part of things, which is the business side of the application. But at the same time, you need to know the cyber risks and the cybersecurity aspect of that application or the business you are dealing with.
Now, your background, you must be computer programmers, you're systems analysts. You must have a very huge background in just the technologies.
Yeah, so all the faculty members in the Computing and Information Science department have their PhDs. We are fortunate enough to have qualified teachers, and some of the I would like to say some of the best instructors in the world. We specialize in teaching, especially to undergraduates. My own degree is in all undergrad, master's, and PhD is in computer science.
Everything from day one.
From day one, yeah.
So you can open one of these up and play with it. Maybe not, but what I'm getting at is that you just don't become a cyber expert without knowing the physical technology and how it works.
True.
And
my undergrad was in computer and communications engineering, and my master's and PhD degree are in computer engineering with specialization in cybersecurity. So basically in my research and my work at the university, I was able to bridge the gap between the software application that you use on your devices and the hardware of those devices in order to make those secure, passing through, of course, the network, which is an essential part of the communication.
And you just brought something up with the way we're connected today. I mean, the diagrams you can boot up online that show how fiber optic alone, let alone satellite. Is there anything else, satellite, fiber optic? There must be something the government has, or maybe you know about, that connects people wirelessly, obviously. So you just can't build a dam around your little laptop and hope that everything's okay. You have to be thinking globally.
Especially today with the plethora of Internet of Things applications that are being used by people. So today you have a smart TV, a smart fridge, a smart alarm. So when you wake up, your alarm, for example, can trigger the coffee machine to prepare coffee for you, right? So those devices are all existing around us and communicating with the Internet. But the problem is those devices are sometimes not that safe. And that's where cyber risk
So why should I be happy that my refrigerator knows how many times I've gone for ice cream today? I'm being facetious, but there's a value to controlling your refrigerator, or your furnace, or your air conditioning from someplace.
Think of it this way. For example, imagine your refrigerator telling you, well, your bottle of milk from an RFID tag on it has expired, or you need to buy milk, right? It's convenient for you. It facilitates your life. It makes your life easier. Yeah. That's the whole purpose of those. But unfortunately, when they are rushed into market, they are not designed securely well enough for your information to be private. And once they are in your house, and connected to your network, it can be a single point of entry to your house. And many people can gain access if that was hacked. And from the fridge, they can get to your wireless devices, wireless camera, wireless laptop, steal your credit card information,
I was in a huge warehouse facility, and they were all ecstatic. They put the ID chips in all the boxes for the product, and I think the chips were $1 a piece, so it was not feasible to put it on a 79-cent bottle of shampoo. True. But they said it's not long. Everything will have a chip in it.
Everything will be connected to the internet.
Where are we relative to that? Is it still just warehouse sorting in boxes, or do most products have chips on them now?
I think most products are connecting to the internet now. So, my home thermostat is connected to my Wi-Fi. My vacuum cleaning, the iRobot is connected to the internet. Okay. So everything is connected to the internet. The problem, as Dr. Mansour pointed out, is that these things have some computing power, but it's so limited that they cannot implement any sophisticated security mechanisms.
No, but if I hack someone's refrigerator, I could spoil their milk, right?
Not only that, but I guess from that, they act like a backdoor. Once you enter from the back door,
that's right.
Easier to access. Then you get into, as Dr. Mansour said, into your Wi-Fi, and
now
then that allows you to get into other devices.
Yeah, it's in our cars.
Absolutely.
Now we look at Tesla, and you can do all kinds of things. It drives itself. So what if someone hacks you while you're driving?
Well, it has been proven with certain companies, not with Tesla yet. But basically, if someone gains access to the electronic board of your car, they can basically control all your electronic devices. Cars today are like smart machines, right? They are not actually mechanical, although they are mechanical devices. They are more like a huge computer working on the road. We have the GPS systems, the infotainment systems, and all these systems that are in the car. So if someone gains access in an unauthorized manner or maliciously to your car, they can control your brakes, they can control your steering, your speed. And
maybe that would be helpful in some cases.
But technically helpful people do not do those things.
That's
Unfortunately, bad people tend to do those things and for harm.
Let's talk about the big picture at Mercyhurst. What do you teach students then? What is your objective when they come to
everything? So we start them from the very rudimentary knowledge of the kinds of things that we believe that everybody. So the big problem now is so the best way to think about cybersecurity right now is to think about the way hygiene was 100 years ago, before the doctors learned to wash their hands and stuff, and they operated on people. There was a lot of infections spreading around, and then we figured out that if you do something as simple as washing, but everybody has to do it. So it's not just the cybersecurity experts. So we teach that to the public. Our introduction to cybersecurity classes teach students, all students, not just the ones who are majoring in computer science or majoring in cybersecurity. All Mercyhurst students can take those classes and learn about how to protect their own personal machines, how to become better with cyber hygiene.
It's almost scary. It seems to me there should be a disclaimer on every product off the shelf, whether it be a computer but what you're doing is, say someone graduates with a master's in one of your programs. Who hires those students?
So masters in cyber risk management, again, one of the only program in the world, is a brand new thing where
at Mercyhurst.
And it's only available at Mercyhurst, nowhere else in the world. It's a unique program that we have, where we teach students not just the traditional cybersecurity, not just the traditional knowledge of computer science and computer networks, but also how do you assign risk to a computer. So if your car is more computer than a mechanical device, then how does an insurance company like ED Insurance assign monetary value to that risk? So assessing cyber risk, assigning monetary value, that's a unique skill set. Nobody else does that, and we teach that in our cyber risk program. And the employers then are obviously the insurance industry, but also any financial industry, banking. They're all looking for managers who are able to assess cyber risk, and it's becoming a huge thing.
Spent a lot of years in risk management. This is brand new. People don't understand that this is as critical as a fire in your plant.
Absolutely.
This is as bad as theft in a bank. Those are mild, actually, compared to what people could remove, or not only remove, but they could destroy infrastructure.
And it's one of the basic or important steps that every organization should do or should have.
Yeah.
Risk assessment and management is one of the mitigations that organizations can follow in order to mitigate the risks that they could have. They need to assess their security standpoint in terms of their workstations, their devices, their databases, their systems. They have to understand how vulnerable those systems that they use are to cyber attacks. And of course, if put a value on the risk, whether it is worth investing that much money, X value amount of money in implementing state-of-the-art cybersecurity technology to protect those assets or not. What is the value here? So those type of things are covered under this program.
But a company like Erie, and we'll say any insurance company, as you two well know, their exposure is every policyholder.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
Absolutely.
And their premium, their surplus, their investments, their integrity as a company depends on maybe just one mistake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the average cost of a cyber breach is, to recover from it, is $3.86 million.
Whoa. That's more than the value of a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So
The
small
cost,
business could never weather.
They say 60% of small businesses, once have been hacked, do not recover from them.
They went bankrupt.
And the fact that they were hacked may not, they all 100% could have been exposed.
Everybody is exposed.
But they found 60% of them.
Yep.
60% were violated?
60% of the ones who were hacked were not able to recover from those hacks.
Yeah,
the other 40% were able to recover.
If you are hacked, you might
It's so costly.
Right.
It's so costly, yeah. The
So what's
consequences
the
are huge.
defense? What do you teach? Mercyhurst is the defense for a company, any company. Well, you choose. Big company, small company.
So one of the great things about the Mercyhurst Masters in Cybersecurity is that it's an online program. And we specialize, we are one of the few places in the world that specialize in teaching cybersecurity and this highly technical set of skills to people who have no background in computer science, who have no background.
You start
in
from scratch. I could start from scratch.
Anybody with, somebody with an English major, with an undergraduate in English or undergraduate in dance,
Music
let's say,
major,
can enroll in our
accounting.
Can enroll in our masters in cybersecurity, an online program, and they can just
And what's
sit
the
in California.
geographic limit to the?
They can sit in California or on the other side of the world. They can sit in India.
So you are now a universal.
We are a university operating out of Erie, teaching people around the globe. Yeah.
And how's it going so far?
Wonderful. As I said, we just launched our programs.
You're brand new.
Both online masters, and we have full classes and
physical classes.
These are online programs.
Oh, online programs.
So these both the masters in cyber risk management and master in cybersecurity are online.
They're online
programs. So people can sit in the comfort of their homes.
Do you ask them to come in once in a while?
We ask them to come in towards the end of their program for, we call it an Erie experience, where we expose them to real-world cybersecurity problems.
That's wonderful. That's a great way to get people to come to Erie, right?
Absolutely. And we make it interesting so that it's beneficial to the students to come and get that Erie experience, which gives them real-world experience that they can put on their CV and
What's
then
your
get a job.
capacity? How many students do you think you can handle, or does it grow automatically you grow it with the opportunities?
Absolutely. We grow it with the opportunity. So we are starting, as I said, small with full classes. So 20 students per class. We limit our classes to small numbers because we want to be able to pay individual attention.
And you're learning too.
And teach this highly complicated skill to people who, again, have no background in computer science, have never programmed a computer, but so we teach them all of those skills. So in order for us to do that effectively, we limit our classes to small numbers.
Do you interface with the government to learn about what their exposures are? Or does the government come to you to say, we would like people to know this so that if they go to the FBI, the CIA, or whatever organization, you can fulfill a need?
So government has done wonderful work in this area, cybersecurity, and as you know, Mercyhurst has the oldest and the largest intelligence studies program in the world. And we work closely with all the intelligence agencies. All of our alumni are in every single intelligence agency. And one of the reasons why we wanted to start this program is because of the demand coming from the government side. The Department of Defense, starting in January 2018, imposed a requirement on all of their contractors to maintain certain cybersecurity standards. So government has done a lot of good work. They certify universities to become academic centers of excellence in cyber defense and cyber operations, and we're in the process of getting those established. So, yeah.
I want to add something there also. When we were in the process of that, we found certain requirements that the government need in certain industry certifications. We designed our cybersecurity programs, undergraduate and graduate as well, to include the body of knowledge that is required for those industry certificates. So in our program, we kind of follow all the necessary requirements for you to have the knowledge necessary to sit for those certifications and get certified for those certifications at the end if you want to join the government or join certain industry. So you don't need to go out and sit up for training doing those certifications. You get your degree from us and you just sit for the exam.
One stop. You
Exactly.
become qualified to it.
We already qualified if you get the degree from Mercyhurst. We have those body of knowledge included in our cybersecurity program.
Yeah, so in addition to the master's, which is a 2-year program, we've also started a certificate in cybersecurity, which you can complete in 8 months. And
Really?
Once you're done with that, you can get 2 professional cybersecurity certification exams that you're qualified to sit in, the SSCP exam and the Security Plus exam.
So someone's aptitude, what kind of person are you looking for? Or is it just someone who just has any modicum of education, has some maybe basics math skills? What's the requirement to, because it seems like different kind of people.
Again, the way the program is designed is to welcome everyone who has the interest of learning more. Okay. As long as you want to learn more, you're more than welcome to join the program. We kind of cover everything necessary from the first course, necessary for you to understand the basics of logic, the basics of computer science, the basics of networking, the basics of programming. You will learn those from the first couple of courses in our program. And then after that, you're ready for the cybersecurity. So basically, regardless whether you are coming from accounting, from English, from any liberal arts, or any background that you may have, if you have a thirst for knowledge, then you're ready. We don't require from you to have any technical background or any particular engineering or extremely technical background.
Part of our curriculum is teaching students ethics of computing, ethics of cybersecurity.
Well, you're going to screen someone into your program because you really don't want someone who's unethical learning.
Absolutely. You know, if we give students this set of skills, we want to teach them ethics so that they behave ethically in the world. Yeah,
all the important.
time. One part of the introductory courses actually, towards the end of the introductory courses, there are sections about cybercrime and ethical issues in cybercrime and the technology today, like how to use the technology ethically, not being unethical and commit certain malicious activities. And we also have a cyber ethics course to teach students about ethics in cybersecurity and ethics in technology, because ethics is a huge deal today, especially with the AI and these smart technologies coming up.
We have about 4 minutes here, so I'm going to let you each summarize. Please, each of you summarize what you feel your program is, what it does, and how people can find you.
Again, as I said, timing is everything. So I got into computer science. I finished with my degree in 1999. It was the height of the tech bubble. I feel very similar about cybersecurity and data science now. So the place where we are in the world right now, Cybersecurity is becoming increasingly a bigger and bigger problem. There are bigger and bigger data breaches, huge monetary consequences for the companies. We already talked about the Defense Department requiring the contractors. So what that means is that there's a huge demand in the industry for people with cybersecurity knowledge. The unemployment rate, according to the Department of Labor statistics, has been zero in cybersecurity, zero. What that means is if you've got any sort of an hour-long workshop that you attended in cybersecurity, you put that on your CV and you get a job. Obviously, if you have from an accredited university such as Mercyhurst, taught by people with PhDs in cybersecurity, if you go to that kind of a program, you're going to get a much better job. But this is the right time. This is the training that you need if you are looking for a job, if you're looking for a fulfilling career of helping make the world a better place.
At the end, I would say first, of course, if you have a thirst for knowledge, you're more than welcome to join the program. The program is designed for everyone who wants to learn more about the cybersecurity. And for organizations, for example, this is a good opportunity for you to invest in your employee training and education, because a huge part of your risk mitigation or of your cyber defense, first line of defense, is your employees. So if you invest in training those employees, in getting cyber education, that would be a great defense for you, and that would be a more valuable asset for you. And since we offer this type of program with no requirements in terms of technical background, we are more than happy to help you reach the level that you need.
So one more thing that I forgot to point out is that Mercyhurst also has launched ED Innovation District. And
that's right. Yeah.
And so the second hat that I wear is working at the ED Innovation District, and what we are doing there is trying to bring high-tech jobs, high-tech startups into downtown Erie. And one of the things that we hear from the employers, from the companies that we are trying to attract to the city, is that they're looking for talent. So they understand that we have low cost. The cost of living is pretty low in Erie. But the second thing that those companies need is talent in areas like cybersecurity, data science, computer science. Mm-hmm. So it's establishing that whole ecosystem. So the universities like Mercyhurst, Gannon, Penn State, Edinburgh teach students computer science, teach students those technical skills that then feed into these startup companies that Erie Innovation District is trying to bring into Erie. Mm-hmm. And we built that whole ecosystem. Everything feeds off each other. And we feel that positive momentum is building. We had huge success with the startup companies that we brought in last year. Yes. In our last year's accelerator called Smart Secure ED, mm-hmm. we brought in 9 companies. Out of that, 5 decided to stay, and it's wonderful. And we are just starting up on the process to launch the accelerator for this year, and we hope to do this every year and build this ecosystem where things feed off each other.
What's the best way to find you? Even if someone just had a question.
Anybody can reach me if they have any questions about Mercyhurst's programs at aupal@mercyhurst.edu.
So that's AUPAL at mercyhurst.edu. Same for you, Dr. Mansour?
C. Mansour, CMANSOUR at mercyhurst.edu.
Be aware you're...
All right. We're more than happy to.
Your email may get hit a little bit after the broadcast. Thank you both for being here. Thank you very much. Very good. Thank you
for having us.